video is just going to be a chatty get ready with me using some of my spring favorite products that I keep on using and reaching for and are constantly spring staples in my collection. So I already primed my eyes with my Anastasia eye primer, of course, and then I used my Dewdrop lip oil, and then I just used my Colourpop Pretty Fresh powder, which has been my go-to powder since I got it, basically. So I'm just gonna put my hair up and start doing my makeup. I am getting ready for work. I have work at 3 o'clock. So the palette I'm gonna be using today is the Colourpop Orchid You Not palette. I was kind of torn as to which palette I wanted to use today. I was either going to use the Fall Magic palette from Alien Cosmetics, or I was going to try and use the Nightmare Before Christmas palette. But I do want to use that palette eventually. But honestly, this has been one of my go-to palettes this spring season. I just have been absolutely loving this one, so I would just wanted to dive into this one again today. It's just such a beautiful palette, and I constantly want to reach for this because it just, I always know I'm gonna love my eyeshadow every single time I use this palette, and it's just so dang pretty. So we're gonna use this one today. So I'm just gonna use a couple of the berry tones today. I forgot I cleaned my Oden's eye brushes today instead of my Colourpop ones, but that's okay because I love these too. I was actually intending on using I'm going to dip into Rebloom first. I was intending on using the Hella palette from Oden's Eye today, which is the collab with Angelica Nyquist, but I'm probably going to use that this weekend because I really want to dip back into that palette. But honestly, like, being on a no-buy for almost a month of eyeshadow palettes and not really buying any new ones since the Star Wars Colourpop palette, I really have just been enjoying my collection right now. I really just did not want to get too much makeup right now because honestly, I have way too much makeup for one person to use that I just really wanted to rediscover some of the favorite palettes in my collection that I have, or use palettes again that I haven't used in a while that I got like months ago. And it really has been very fun to like use a new palette every day rather than or use a different palette every day rather than having to test out one palette. Kind of gets a little monotonous to me sometimes using the same palette. Like, the way I've been testing out eyeshadow palettes now is I've been not using them straight for like a week to test out every single shade. That's what I used to do. Now I'll just test them out when I want to use the palette and want to use the shades that I want to use, and another day I'll decide to use another palette, like for example the Orchid You Not palette, because I want to use something that I know and love and want to dip into again. So it's been a lot more fun for me to look at eyeshadows that way and eyeshadow palettes, because let's get real, I really only ever use eyeshadow palettes. When is the last time I actually used single shadows? I don't even know. But it's been a lot easier for me to use products that way and test out new eyeshadow palettes in my collection, rather than overwhelming myself to test out every single shade as soon as I get it. I've been kind of testing it out more gradually, and it's been a lot more fun to do it that way. So for the deepening shade, I really want to take this shade Buddies. I think I'm going to use that one. It's such a pretty purple. And these are just so pigmented. Like, this palette is so much better than the All Amethyst palette. I'm actually going to be decluttering that one because this one performs so much better. And honestly, this gives me like the purple that I honestly did not have in my collection over the All Amethyst palette. The All Amethyst palette really does not fulfill a need in my collection, and it's not as good as this palette at all. That's honestly one of the worst Colourpop palettes I've ever tried. This palette is amazing. I love it. It blends so well every single time. And it also is one of my most long-lasting palettes from Colourpop. Like, since these shadows are much more pigmented and deeper, they last a lot longer on the eyes. So I'm just going to define with that shade. And I'm also loving how the Odin's eye brushes are blending this out too. It's so pretty. I love this palette so much. Okay, and then for the outer corners, I'm going to use the shade Nuh-Uh, which is the deepest shade in the palette. It's a really beautiful, unique shade. It's like a very deep purple brown shade. Just the tones that they decided to put in this palette is just perfect. I find I don't need to go into any other palette because the mattes are so much deeper in this palette, and they really add so much depth and dimension to your look. Like, so pretty. Honestly, for people that don't really love Colourpop, this is a really good palette to try. If you're curious, this is one of my all-time favorites from them at this point. I reach for it constantly now. This and the Limoncello have been my go-to spring palettes. I cannot believe I was going to skip over both of them, and then they have become my favorite palettes to use. But also, it's been a little bit easier to look at my collection in a way of using palettes seasonally for each season, rather than worrying about, you know, using every single palette in my collection. Like, to use a different palette all the time every day, it gets a little bit overwhelming to think about what you need to use over what you need to test out, over what you want to actually just use and not worry about testing out something. So it's been a lot easier to look at, to just use what I want, and if I want to test out a new shade in a palette that's new to me, then that's what I'll do that day. If I don't want to do it that day, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to use another palette that I really want to use. So again, it's been really fun to look at eyeshadow that way, rather than being like, oh my god, I gotta test out every single shade. So I'm just gonna put on some glitter glue and then we'll do the lid. Okay, and then for the lid shade, I really wanted to use the shade Pretty One all over my lid. That might not have been necessarily the shade I would have went for initially, but it's such a pretty, like, lilac silvery color. And I think I've only used this one once on my lid before. I usually use this as my inner corner highlight when I use this palette, and I use the other shimmers on my lid, but this is such a beautiful shade, so I wanted to use this one again. So I think now officially after today, I have finally used all the shimmers in this palette twice. And that says a lot for me lately, because I have, again, accumulated a lot of palettes over the past year and a half, honestly. Like, I still have gotten around 9 or 10 palettes this year. But also it's been a lot easier when you don't add new palettes to your collection so often. I'm kind of sticking now to a 1 palette per month rule, because since I almost have tested out about 10 palettes this year alone, I'm not gonna allow myself too many more palettes. I'm gonna wait to see what comes out during the course of the year. I'm gonna see whether or not Colourpop releases more Disney palettes, because that's usually what I'm the most drawn to. Let's get real. I love the Disney Colourpop palettes, and that's usually what I purchase over anything else, like over any Colourpop release or any other release from any other brand in general, because those are the palettes I really want to add to my collection, because I'm such a Disney fan. So I kind of have to look at it more like that. But also I've just been a lot more selective and picky about what palettes I want to add to my collection now. Like, there have been quite a few releases that I've been tempted by, but the reason why I keep on going back to Colourpop is that I can pay it out over time. It's only like $10 up front if I use, they're now not using Afterpay anymore. They are now using Klarna, which I did not know they switched to until about like a couple of weeks ago. And I tried to check out with Afterpay and I was like, why isn't it coming up? And I didn't know that they had switched over. I think I was like buying the Winnie the Pooh launch and I forgot to do Klarna because for some reason I thought that I didn't have a Klarna account, but I did. But I just wanted to check out the products super fast because for some reason every time like a big release that I want comes out is always on a day that I am working at 12 o'clock. And Colourpop really likes to release their big launches or their new launches at 1 p.m. EST on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and 99% of the time I'm working 12 to 6. Of course, not this week, and I was tempted by the new bronzer release, but then I kind of skipped over it because I actually had made an order last night of a palette that I have been agonizing over for like 3 years. And I finally just decided to get it. I'm like, this palette adds something to my collection. It's something that I've wanted in my collection for so long at this point. And I thought that the All Amethyst palette was going to do that for me because it had some really pretty lavender shades in it. And then the formula ended up being horrible. So I finally decided to order the Lilac You A Lot palette because I fell in love with the Orchid You Not palette, that I thought that it would be such a pretty palette to use over the spring and summer. And there are quite a few like lavender tops that I want to wear this summer that I think it's going to pair perfectly with. So I'm really excited to get that palette finally because I always go over the Colourpop website and see which palettes like would add something to my collection, and I'm like, this added something to my collection that I didn't have, and this has become one of my most used palettes since I've gotten it. So that's why I'm like, let me just finally get it. I'm getting rid of the All Amethyst palette. That palette was not good. Let me get something that I actually think I'm going to like and enjoy, because 99% of the time I end up liking the formula in these newer 9-pan palettes. Even though that's an older one, I still think I'm going to like it a lot. So Lilac You A Lot. So let me just grab my makeup sponge so we can do my face. Sorry. Okay, so now we're going to work on the face, and I'm going to spray first with my MAC Fix Plus as usual. I really love this cucumber scent from the scented MAC Fix Pluses. This is just the most refreshing scent, and it's not like strong at all. It just feels super refreshing, and it feels like it's just refreshing my face. And honestly, like, I barely even notice the scent anymore. It's not really like that big of a deal to me. Okay, and then I'm going to use one of my go-to primers, which is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. I use this primer all the time. I'm trying to use it up. I'm almost done with it because I did purchase the new e.l.f. Hydro Grip Primer, but I think that the original is still better. I think that the e.l.f. one is a little bit stickier, but it's still a good alternative. So again, if you don't want to spend the money on the Milk one, that one is very good. I probably have said this like 3 times already, so. Okay, and then for foundation, I'm going to use one of my go-tos in the spring and summer, which is the Anastasia Luminous Foundation. This is one of my favorite foundations of all time. This is my second tube of it, second bottle, whatever you want to call it. I just love this foundation. It just looks phenomenal on my skin. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but for me, you guys know I love a good medium coverage dewy foundation, and this one is just like the absolute perfect one for me. I love it so, so much, especially in the spring and summertime because I mean, I still use it in the fall and winter, but I definitely like it more for like the warmer months. It just has such a beautiful finish to it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and blend that in. I don't know why my eye is bothering me so much. That always happens after I do my eyeshadow, like something bothers me. And I'm just going to blend that in. I haven't really done a full face of makeup on camera in a while, so I was kind of wanting to do that. I kind of missed filming like full get ready with me's because I've been not really having as much time to film as I would like to. Just I've been spending more time with my boyfriend or I was working more. So today I just felt like filming before work. And if I do film before work, it's usually just like a first impression. So like on like an eyeshadow palette. So I don't usually film like the full face just so the video isn't too long. But today I just wanted to film a chatty video because why the hell not? So I'm just going to go ahead and blend that out. And then we're going to go in with concealer. So let me know what your go-to spring favorites are. I really would like to know. I mean, of course I have a bunch, and I'm actually going to be posting my favorite spring palettes very soon. It's going to be up probably before this video, and then I'm probably going to post this video right after that because I wanted to use some of my favorites in action. But pretty much this one and the Limoncello palette from Colourpop have been like my absolute go-tos. All right, this is really bothering me. I don't know why. I don't know what is bothering me. It's driving me nuts. That's better. Okay, so for concealer, I'm going to use the Tarte C Power Flex Concealer. I've been absolutely, oh my god, that's a lot. Whoops, I forget how like highly pigmented this one is. But that's quite a bit of concealer on my nose. But this has become one of my favorite full coverage concealers, especially for the spring and summer, because it's such a hydrating full coverage concealer. Like you don't even feel like it's full coverage, and it blends into the skin so beautifully. Like I've said this like a million times, but I really do love the Tarte C line. I've loved every product I've tried. Their complexion products from that line are so pretty, and they just work for my skin so nicely because y'all know I don't love like a super full coverage concealer. Like, I'm not about that. I mean, I do like full coverage when I have like bags underneath my eyes, but it's not my preferred preference even when I work. I'm not like all about full coverage, like mask-like looking makeup. I like still having like a skin-like finish to my makeup, and like concealer, I do like covering up my under eyes, but like I don't want something that's full coverage that's going to be heavy, and this is not a heavy full coverage concealer whatsoever. It's just such a beautiful concealer underneath the eyes, and it just blends in so nicely to the skin. I just really like this concealer, if you didn't know. It just looks so good on the skin and under the eyes. So that's why I decided to return the Dior one over this one, because I did not like that one as much as this one. I loved the consistency of that one, but that one would crease so bad underneath my eyes, not even after like 2 hours, and it would just look so bad at the end of the day. I was like, this is not for me. I've been getting like super picky with concealers. But I also had not purchased a new concealer since like the Lancome one, I think during the November VIB sale. So I was kind of excited to try both of these, and I just ended up liking this one more. I'm already hungry again. I just had some fruit before work. So anyway, I'm going to use the Rare Beauty powder. I have been using the Pat McGrath powder more so for work, but I also have been whipping this one out again, especially since it's getting warmer. I love how lightweight this powder is. Again, it doesn't even feel like you're wearing powder. It's just so lightweight on the skin, so I kind of like this when, again, I don't want something too full coverage. And it literally is like the most skin-like powder I've ever used because it doesn't even look like powder. It's just so freaking pretty. She really does a great job with her products. But I've been raving about this powder because you can put on as much as you want and it really does not even look like powder still. It just makes the skin look so smooth and beautiful. But I have been preferring the Pat McGrath one with some other concealers because the Rare Beauty one can cause my concealer to crease more easily. But for today, I wanted to use that one because I didn't really want to use the Pat McGrath. It just depends on what I'm feeling that day. So today I just wanted to use that one. So, of course, to set my face, I'm using the Colourpop Pretty Fresh powder, and I've raved about this powder constantly. I love it on the skin. I love it with any foundation because it just, again, looks so, like, beautiful and just makes your skin look airbrushed. It doesn't make it look powdery whatsoever. So I've been loving that powder. And then since we wore the Anastasia foundation today, I want to set it with the Dewy Skin Mist, which is also from Anastasia Beverly Hills. Oh my god. Just because we just put on some powder. I've been loving this. I haven't been using it as much. Wow, I sprayed a ton. Let's blend that in a little bit. But I've been using my Milk makeup spray a lot more. Oh, my hair is driving me nuts right now. Driving me bonker flonkers. I will usually say that to my dogs, like bonker flonkers. I'm crazy. Okay, let's go back into the palette, but I will usually use my Milk makeup setting spray. Basically every day for work. I'm like halfway through the second bottle because I love this spray. It's my all-time favorite. It's just so hydrating. I love it so much. Okay, so for my liner, I think we're going to use this berry toned one. I was thinking about using a purple one, but let's go in with this one. Do I want to smudge anything on the lower lash line though? I kind of want to keep it light. I think I'm going to smudge Rebloom though. Let's do that. Why not, Caitlin? I have everything picked out today except for a lipstick. So let's just, oh, I might just use that Bobbi Brown one that I have in front of me. I've only used that once. Okay, so for the inner corners, I'm going to go into the shade of All Purple, and it's a really beautiful, like, duochrome purple lavender color. It's so pretty. I love this shade. I love all the shades in this palette. There's not one dud in this palette. They all blend beautifully. Okay, and then for the lower lash line, I'm going to take that shade Rebloom. So I used of All Purple on the inner corners, and then for the lower lash line, I'm going to take that pinky color, which is this one. I literally just pointed to it and I forgot where it was. That's very helpful, Caitlin. Okay, my neck is hurting. I need a chair that's like taller and like supports my neck. This one like is not the greatest. I really don't sit at this chair too often unless I'm filming because, or if I only have like 20 minutes before work and I need to do something. But 99% of the time, if I want to relax, I'm usually in my bed, which isn't the greatest because then that's why I don't sleep as well. I've been sleeping decently, but I'll wake up like super early and then I can't fall back asleep, and I also fall asleep pretty late, so, but I've been sleeping, like, but I only get like a few hours. Like last night I only got 4 hours of sleep, but it's better than nothing. We basically had a 4-hour nap. Also, This Is Us is over. That was kind of a disappointing series finale. I kind of liked the episode before that over the episode that was the series finale. Me and my mom were pretty disappointed, so it just wasn't very good. If you guys watch This Is Us, please let me know what you thought. So for the waterline, I'm going to use this Colourpop liner. I don't know what the name is because it has completely worn off. I think it's the shade Charmer. Why is it so much deeper? I think this is the shade Charmer, or that might be the deeper purple in here. I think the deeper purple is Visual, so this one is Charmer. And I'm just gonna, whoopsie, getting eyeliner in my eye. That's not very good. God almighty. Alright, I'm just gonna take that in my waterline. God, I'm so pissed right now. Some of these eyeliners from Colourpop start flaking over time, and it's really annoying. And then it's not even like pigmented on my waterline right now, and I just broke that off, so that's great. Oh my god, can this actually apply? Alright, I'm gonna do my mascara that is being kind of annoying, so let me try and fix that. Okay, so I fixed up my eyes and I put on some lash primer. So for my mascara, I'm gonna use the Milk Makeup Rise mascara. I haven't really had like a go-to mascara because it changes every day, but this has definitely been the one I've been using the most. But I already feel like it's kind of getting like dried out. And it's not even that old, so. I repurchased my Act Natural mascara and my lengthening mascara from Colourpop because they're getting so dried out and honestly like so old at this point. And they're pretty much my go-to mascaras for every day. That I wanted to repurchase them, and they were only $5 right now. People are so like shocked that they, like, I see people that have received those mascaras in PR like months before, like when they first come out, and then they just decide to use it like months later on their channel, and they're like, oh my god, this is so good. I'm like, yeah, I know, I've been using it for like months at this point. And I understand, like, it's not the job of the YouTuber to review something, like, as soon as it comes out. They can review it whenever they want to, but it's a mascara. Like, it's not like mascaras take that long to review or try. And I feel like those mascaras would have done so much better. Not that Colourpop really needs any help, but like I've said before, there are products in Colourpop's line that people just don't know that are good because they just assume because they've tried the eyeshadow palettes that they had a bad experience. They're like, oh, I'm writing off this brand, but there's like tons of other options that Colourpop has to offer that end up being overlooked because people don't know if it's good or not. And a lot of people do rely on YouTube reviews on products before they actually buy it, because since Colourpop is strictly an online brand, they want to watch a review of it, because how else are they supposed to know if they're going to like a product, and they want to get a opinion on it first before they buy it. I mean, that's just me and how I buy makeup, but for someone that is like first trying out makeup, they're going to want to watch a review, or if they're first discovering like YouTube and the makeup world on YouTube, they're going to want to watch a review. So for my bronzer, honestly, I've just been going back and forth with my Gucci bronzer and my Dior bronzer. So I'm going to use the Gucci bronzer today just because I want something a little bit warmer. Obviously, you could use any bronzer you want, but just for me, this is what I've been using. So it's bougie, but I want to use it because it's expensive as hell, and I've been using it a ton. So that's just what I'm going to use today. All right. I don't know why everybody is messaging me right now. All right, but I got to hurry up, and I already have to pee again. Okay. And then for my cheeks, I'm going to use this Winky Lux blush. I mean, of course, again, my blush changes every day, but this is such a beautiful blush for the springtime, so I wanted to use this one today. Honestly, you could use any brush with these. They pick up really nicely with just a regular brush, so I'm just going to use my Colourpop brush. Oh, so pretty. I've been actually using this one a little bit more often than the orangey one. I gotta whip out the orangey one again and use it. I just have so many blushes at this point. It's a little bit overwhelming sometimes, and I just end up using the same go-to blushes because I can't be bothered to pick out a different one sometimes, especially if I'm in a rush. It's a little bit difficult, so I'm just going to build that up a little bit more. I've been loving this Colourpop brush lately. I have not used it until like recently, and it's just so good. So I'm just going to do that. And this blush is like so easy to build up. It's never like too much. It's just so beautiful on the skin. And then for highlights, I wanted to use, this is one of my oldest Colourpop ones. And this is also like one of my go-to spring highlighters. So this is the shade You're a Catch, I believe from the Making Mauves collection, or maybe it was from the Blush Crush collection. I think it was from the Blush Crush collection. Anyway, this was like the only thing that I got from the collection, and it's such a beautiful highlighter, so I wanted to use it today. I haven't used it in quite a while, and it's always been one of my favorite Super Shock ones. And like I said, I'm just going to use my finger because I find that these bigger ones, but this one picks up pretty nice on a brush too, but I like applying it with my finger first and kind of like adding an extra pop with a brush. So I'm just going to do that. You know what? My brush is actually not cleaned off, so we're just going to use my finger. That looks really pretty. I'm just going to add a little bit more to my cheeks. Oh, that's hella pretty. Yes. All right, and then we're going to go pick out a lippy and get out of here. Okay, and then for my lips, do I like this color? I think it's pretty, right? I'm going to use one of the Luxe lipsticks from Colourpop in the shade Spring Roll. It's one of my go-to pinks for the springtime. I thought it'd be pretty with this look. And I aligned my lips with Colourpop's Oh Snap Lippy Pencil. I'm going to finish that up. Okay, you guys, so this is the finished look. Here are the eyes, the cheeks, and the lips. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to film the outro later because I got to get to work. So bye. Okay, guys, so I'm back home from work. So I just wanted to wrap up this video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this look and these products that I use. Let me know if you guys have tried any of these products. And again, let me know what your spring favorites are. So please like and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram at CBW819 and check out my Poshmark at the same handle. I'm pretty tired because it was kind of a busy night at work. We're usually not as busy around 7 o'clock, but I sold quite a bit during the last hour at work. I love this foundation. It still looks so good on the skin at the end of the day, and that's why it's one of my favorites. So yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!